Hey, guys.
Hey,
how's it going?
ROMEOs.
How we doing?
Good.
It's Romeo Day. We're doing really well.
Oh, God. Pat, you look good.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, Aki's in fine spirits, as is Nuran. Hopefully you are too, Dominic.
Always.
And I hope our viewers and listeners are as well. Thanks for joining us once again. Always glad to have you with us. And friendly reminder to subscribe to our podcast, our channel, if you haven't already done so.
Get off your ass. Please.
Be kind. Oh, please. He did say please. So, guys, topic for conversation today
Is?
I'm suggesting, should comedy have boundaries? Ha! Okay.
You want to follow that up?
It was just one, huh?
So, look, we live at a time where there seems to be less and less tolerance for certain things. I think that comedians have one of the hardest jobs on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
Risk being canceled.
Well, they never used to risk being canceled. Now, as the way society went, people feel they have a right not to be offended, which basically kills all comedy.
Exactly.
So, yeah, in my mind, no, comedy, the whole premise of this thing is for them to point out the absurd and to take things to an absurd place. So, by definition, comedy can't have boundaries. And if you don't like the comedy, then it's not for you. Go somewhere else.
Exactly.
So there's a lot to be said for that. I view that to be true in terms of, because individuals have the ability to opt in or out. In other words, you can choose to watch something or not watch it. If you choose to watch it, then expect that you may be offended. It may rile up your emotions, but it doesn't give you the right to cancel the person who's delivering the commentary.
Or send death threats and all the rest of the crap that
there's
can
certain
happen.
cases where the line's being crossed.
I think that I would go even further. If you think you're going to be offended, don't tune in at all, because comedy is
Subjective.
Exactly. Don't tune in at all. Just do something else. I mean, the only boundaries I would say is probably kids. That I would probably put as a boundary, but anything else.
When you say kids, what do you mean?
Well, I don't know, maybe like child
Pedophilia,
abuse.
yeah.
Yeah, child abuse. Like,
Jokes about certain topics.
Exactly.
No.
But maybe,
Then don't listen to that guy if those are the kind of
at
jokes.
the limit, I said, but of actual cases, let's say, of making fun of actual cases of child abuse.
Like John Benet Ramsey at
that's
the
it,
time, I think it was,
yeah,
right?
something
So,
like that.
so you're saying in situations where names are being named,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that to me,
as
is
opposed to an anonymous commentary.
anonymous, no boundaries, but don't specific
Because
cases.
in many respects, really what we're talking about is free speech.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So should the same rules or guidelines apply to comedy? In the sense that, for instance,
Well, they do.
sometimes
They
a
have to.
line crossed is if you're inciting violence or hatred, or there's comedy that goes into
But the
very
First
racist
Amendment, the U.S. First Amendment carries or holds to comics, right? So if a comic is inciting violence, then he will have broken the law. And, then they shouldn't be doing that.
The point
But-
is, does context matter? Like if somebody says, okay, it's a form of comedy. I'm not truly inciting violence or hatred or.
Well,
It's comedy. I'm making light of a subject.
Well, that's it. So I think so. Dominic, your problem is with actually naming names of a topic that's actually in the newspaper or was.
Well, no, if it's regarding children, everything else. If you want to talk about the Hernandez brothers or whatever.
Well, they were children at the time.
Yeah, well, not really. He was 21, one of them. So.
You really are into those guys.
He's stuck on that one.
Yeah.
I know. Eagle-eared viewers will.
Well, Aki, what do you think?
Well, you know what? I think for comedy, I think it's a very tough job. There's no question about it. I have a lot of respect for the talent. And I have even more respect, for those that are able to be successful comedians without touching, the delicate and the controversial and the incendiary stuff. I respect that. If comedians do choose to go down that road and touch the incendiary stuff, I will not. It's not my cup of tea there, and I will not attend. But for them to be able to have their show and have their career around that type of incendiary comedy, I can I can see the argument for it.
What's an example that you would not attend? What kind of a subject
Well, Andrew Dice Clay was horrible.
Horrible.
Horrible. I mean, when you went. I'm
Hickory
sorry.
dickory dock.
When you went,
Yeah.
when he was just, absolutely went, ran roughshod over women, and that was just, his shtick.
No,
the only
well,
thing.
But the point is, there was an audience for it. You may not have been part of that audience, but there
right?
was
So I
an
wouldn't
audience
be.
for
So
it.
that's right. That's the kind of comedy that I would not go.
Because theoretically, he probably was the first comedian to be cancelled. Andrew Dice Clay, I would say.
Was amongst them, yeah.
By memory. I mean,
Yeah.
and why was he cancelled? Because his comedy on giggies, primarily.
Yeah. Well.
So women were fair game, but gays were not.
It looks like, I don't, because I used
Right.
to, I still am a huge fan.
Wasn't Richard Pryor canceled at some point earlier, and some of
Well,
the
he
other?
almost cancelled himself.
So
Yeah.
there may be a difference between canceled and suspended.
Yeah.
He went there. He went there.
But Andrew Dice Clay was
Fair game.
Yeah, but Andrew Dice Clay, because I was a huge fan, still am, and it was primarily because of his gay jokes. So, look, I'm Italian.
So misogyny was
So
okay.
a lot of the comedians make fun of Italians. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
I'm okay.
Even if they're not Italian.
Yeah, it's
No, that's fine.
it's fine.
That's fine.
I mean,
But but the guy at the Trump rally, for example, I mean, going on after the Puerto Ricans and the garbage, the island.
well, yeah, to me, the comedy was fine. It just where he did it was not appropriate.
It wasn't appropriate for him to be at a political rally, at a
Exactly.
partisan political
Whoa,
event.
whoa, whoa, whoa. We're going to talk about what's appropriate and inappropriate at a Trump rally? Come on. Come on.
Point well taken.
If you attend such a rally,
Point well taken.
expect the unexpected.
Fair enough. Fair enough.
Correct.
But,
There we go.
but if he was in the comedy club, and I mean, that's fine.
Yeah, and people have you have your choice.
Well, the other thing about comedy is if you personally find something funny, then laugh.
yeah.
And if not, then don't.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But don't berate the guy for saying something that didn't make you laugh when you were expecting to get a laugh.
Okay, has anybody done any comedy around Columbine, the school shootings? I don't know.
Of course.
Really?
There's always a way to take a subject
Yeah.
and make a joke around it.
Exactly.
You don't have to belittle it. You don't have to somehow re-victimize the victims. But a topic, I mean, good comics can find any topic.
Yeah.
And tease a joke out of it and make you laugh about tragedy, make you laugh about all sorts of things.
Or not, right? Because it's not just good comedians.
Yeah.
Because what's a good comedian and what's not? It's so subjective.
True, but yeah, I mean, a hack may ruin it and try to make a joke out of it,
Right.
but come out callous and disrespectful.
But there are some subjects that are so uncomfortable, they'll elicit laughter because they're uncomfortable. I forget who it was. I'm going to go on a limb and say I think it was Seinfeld, because somebody was interviewing Seinfeld and made the comment about how successful he had been at a time or during a period during which it was commonplace for comedians to use foul language in order to elicit laughter from their audience. And I think the story goes something along the lines of he did at one point include that in his comedy, and then thought, in order to make it big, you got to be on the Johnny Carson show. You got to have a routine where you're not using that kind of language because you're going to be censored. And so he went out and tried it. And he said very quickly he was able to determine that a lot of his stuff wasn't that funny because in the absence of that language, people weren't laughing. And he said I had to come up with content that was funny without using that uncomfortable language that people will laugh or giggle at. And that's an interesting test, but it made me think, the reason I'm bringing this up, because it made me reflect on comedy. I think it is so friggin' subjective.
Yeah.
For each one of us, there may be stuff that we find hysterical
For sure.
that the others would say, I don't get it. Right?
An example comes to mind, Aaron, that you'd like to share with us?
No, it was something that I forwarded to my brother. It was on TikTok, and I thought it was the most hilarious thing. I was in Spain. I saw it on TikTok, and I was literally for at least 5 minutes, and I mean a solid 5 minutes, laughing, and I couldn't stop laughing. And every time I looked at it, I would laugh again. And it was the silliest thing. Alien versus Predator, right?
Right.
Alien is an indestructible thing, and Predator likes to hunt stuff.
Yeah.
They hunt each other. So there's this skit where the alien is in a shower and he's taking a shower, and the predator walks by and they kind of nod at each other. And the predator, there's a toilet, and he flushes the toilet, and then the
water.
alien starts screaming. We know what the sound they make when they're hurt, like ah, in the shower.
Cold water.
That's it, because cold water is making him scream. I'm telling you, that was so freaking funny.
See, that would be funny to me.
Yeah.
Because I've never
No,
seen.
I could see
I've
the,
never seen Alien or Predator.
It had to be specific. You have to
Exactly.
understand.
And the point is, your brother didn't react the way you thought he
No,
would.
he didn't. No, there was no reaction
Yeah,
at all.
exactly. So
Whereas
Yeah, but
I was
that-
laughing
that's
for
not
5 minutes.
But that's not surprising.
it's like, for example, people find Bill Murray and Dan Aykroyd funny. Never did. Never did.
Mr. Bean,
Yeah. Mr. Bean, yes.
Mr. Venus.
Monty Python.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
Ah, you see.
I'm not a Monty Python.
So you guys are just making the point for
Yeah.
me. It's entirely subjective.
Exactly.
is.
You mentioned Andrew Dice Clay.
Yeah.
There are people who I knew at the time would say, Andrew, you got to see this. It's hysterical. It's funny. This guy's unbelievable. And other people say, I've never seen anything so bad in my life.
Yeah.
Right? It's horrible.
Yeah, I just I'd like to I expect don't just go after have like one shtick. If you're gonna do that, if you're gonna do that kind of comedy, go after everybody equally. That to me is a little more it's more
Again, it's
interesting.
You're being subjective. You're putting on your.
Yeah, I am subjective.
But Andrew Dice Clay did that. The Italians, he made fun of Italians, made fun of gays and women and this, lesbians.
Menescalco now is a little bit like that.
Yeah,
no?
but
He's like a
Menescal-
softer version of him.
Well, Maniscalco,
it's not in the same league.
Not even
Yeah.
close. Not even close. But Maniscalco, what he does, he makes observations about being Italian.
Yeah, exactly.
So I connect because I am Italian. So
But there's a certain amount of physical humor to
Yeah.
what he does as
Yeah.
well.
Very much
of
so.
course,
Yeah.
Between the facial
Yeah.
expression,
It's
the
brilliant.
way he
He
movements,
moves
and,
yeah.
Brilliant.
right?
yeah, he's,
Well, some
okay.
people will say brilliant. Other people
No,
will
I'm
say,
talking about that part of his act. I mean,
Yeah.
he's a very good comedian,
I
but I
think
mean,
he's okay. He's not-
the way he portrays it on stage. I mean, his stage moves and his acting is really it's a lot of fun to watch.
he's got that facial expressions that come into
Very
play also.
entertaining.
I like the Aussie guy.
So it's
there.
interesting. I would say some of those that type of comedy can be entertaining. The novelty can also wear off pretty quickly.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That's
The
what
things
happens
that make
with
you
me.
laugh after a while, if you see them repeatedly, it stops being funny.
Yeah.
Well, look,
Well, that's why it's such a hard job.
Very hard.
Very hard
Look
job.
at a guy like Larry David. It's cringing to watch.
But
what
it's
he does.
entertaining.
So we talked about boundaries. So I was going to make the point earlier, and now you're talking. There are a few comedians who can't be canceled.
No, cannot.
He's one of them.
He's one of them.
Yeah,
Yeah, that is
yeah.
true.
You
He
cannot
gets
be
away
canceled.
with things that nobody else could possibly get away
Right.
with.
Because he's Larry David.
and Woody
Just
Allen.
the way he says it. It's just the way.
Okay, well,
Yeah, Woody Allen. Yeah,
not because of his comedy.
no.
Well, it was kind of funny that he married his daughter.
Sorry.
Gut splitting.
Funny is not the word that comes to mind.
Guts splitting.
But Larry David is somewhat of an enigma because he can. I mean, the stuff that he does is cringing.
Well, another one who comes close, it's not cringing necessarily, but Bill Burr's another one.
yeah,
Yeah, but he's good.
gets
He's
away-
so funny.
he's
though.
incredibly polished, but he
Oh
gets away
my
with a
God.
lot.
yeah.
Yeah, but the way he says it,
Yeah.
it's because he's really the way he crafts
Yeah.
what he says. He's on the edge. It's.
But he's really dialed in. He's in tune with.
Oh yeah, 100%.
And I think
100%.
once they pass a point, then they cannot be cancelled for some reason. I don't know. It's like,
Ask Louis J.K. or
Louis
Louis
C.K.
C.K.
well,
J.K.
yeah, look, to me, to be honest, I mean, I'm a fan of Louis C.K. Okay, what he did was, really weird, but he didn't rape anybody. He didn't.
What did he do? He shagged off or something on
Yeah,
stage?
well, no, not on stage, at his house. He had,
So?
he had two guests.
Oh,
These
okay.
two women, and he proceeded to do that.
What's the story there? And the two women.
Why do guys want to do that?
But I don't know. It's like, to me, yeah.
That's fucking.
So what was the harm done there?
He
Just,
was he was prepping to run for Senate.
No, to be on CNN.
Why does he have a background in law?
Exactly.
What was the issue there? The two women complained? Is that it?
Yeah, but when the Me Too
No, but the two women were two adult women, right?
Yeah.
There was three adults.
So the Me Too movement came along, and everybody was, telling their
Appalled.
story.
They were
so,
appalled.
So they told their
They got
story.
on the bandwagon.
Yeah, they got on the bandwagon. So I mean, now he's back on tour. So
I thought it was a minor that was involved.
no, never.
Okay.
He didn't even touch those women.
okay.
He only touched himself.
Only.
Like a virgin.
So why?
So maybe they were offended by that.
Probably, yeah, you wonder.
No, that's
know.
going too far. I mean, to ruin a man's career.
Yeah,
for
I mean,
adults.
So how
in the
about
privacy of
Weinstein?
his
Same
house.
thing for Weinstein?
no, but he,
Weinstein, come on. Weinstein was a predator.
Okay.
I mean,
just kidding.
Your daughter's listening.
It's
What's the
a
matter
joke.
with you?
It's a joke.
Okay, it's a joke.
yeah, in the case of Louis C.K., I thought it was
No, that's,
unfair.
yeah, that
unfair.
is.
Yeah, that guy needs help. But look at that guy Tubin.
Of course.
You're going to go there.
He needed a hand.
But Tubin's not a comedian.
No, but this guy is they hire him back.
What a joker.
Yes.
That to me is
Well,
What?
I don't know. What,
So
so-
basically,
I-
if I did it now,
if you don't,
Stay seated, hands on the
all right,
table.
if you don't hurt anybody, but you're an
no.
embarrassment,
No.
but you embarrass yourself.
yeah, you're
and
embarrassing the
and
station.
You're really that uncouth. Well, do you deserve to have your whole life ruined?
yes. Yeah.
Because in addition,
It's not your whole life ruined.
What-
It's that
That
particular-
professional part of
Aki,
your life
Aki,
should be ruined.
In addition, he fathered a child with a young associate while he's married.
Hey,
Brian,
guys, we're really off the topic.
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
Okay,
you're right. You're right.
Comedy,
Bring it
guys.
back. Let's bring it
But it
back.
was a comedy that the guy does this on live TV.
But Louis C.K. then, and is still considered like blacklisted.
No, he's back.
back.
He's back on
All
tour.
right, good. All right,
Back on
good.
tour.
He paid his penance of what, 3 years, 5 years? What is it?
Yeah, something like that.
How many Hail Marys he said, and now it's done? Is that it?
Yeah,
There's
well,
a disclaimer before every performance, but
Okay,
otherwise,
okay,
it's good.
no triggers, of
and
course.
they can't sell the two front seats.
It's in the splash radius.
Anybody you know that wanted those seats?
People who go to theater in the first couple of rows are being spat on. So live theater is all about that.
Exactly.
It's no different.
Just wear a poncho. You'll be
Well, I
fine.
mean, when you go to these comedy shows, if you're going to sit in the front, chances are.
Get
But now,
used to it.
have you noticed how comedians get around, saying things that cancel them is by interacting with the audience. And then so once they do that, they seem to be able to go pretty far.
Yeah.
With Asians or Italians.
Yeah.
Or, I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
No, I hadn't.
Yeah. So that's how a lot of them, like Matt Strife or something like that, or all these comedians, they engage. They don't really have material, but they engage the audience.
And it's very entertaining.
And then
It's
they
well
build,
done.
And then they build on that. And
Crowd
they build
work.
on that. Yeah. So
That's what they call it?
Crowd work, yeah.
Is
If
that-
you-
But
that-
yeah.
That's an art.
That's a different talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's
you
an
got to
art.
be quick.
Yeah.
Oh, you have to be very quick. And they're very good. Like a lot of them, their whole shows, I mean, basically
Yeah.
90% of the show is
Exactly.
that's what it is.
Comedians are typically very intelligent.
Absolutely.
And they have to be because they have to think
Yeah.
very quickly.
Absolutely.
As opposed to writers. Like comedic writers are not the same as stand-up comics. For a stand-up comic, you got to be able to whip it out quickly,
Yeah.
so to speak.
Louis C.K.
Dominic, where does your mind go?
Louis C.K.
As soon as I said whip it out quickly.
My
I
goodness.
thought about Louis C.K.
No,
No wonder he doesn't believe in no wonder he doesn't believe in boundaries.
No.
Yeah, that's it. No, these guys are super bright, I think, because they're able to like immediately, find an angle, find something
Yeah.
quick to say, because they have no time. Like it's the guy can't be thinking, what can I say about this?
No,
guy?
absolutely.
Right? It's instantaneous, and to me, that's super impressive.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's like improvisation, so.
Yeah, improv is very impressive.
It is very impressive as
Yeah.
well. But no, I think boundaries, none. Like I said, start specific names of kids that, stay away. So, yeah. Like I was
Is there
talking,
anybody in that category that you would avoid?
no, because I think
I mean, kids, I haven't really. I don't think there are
Well, like I
any
said,
major
there were-
comedians that take on kids.
Remember the
But-
John Benet Ramsey story?
Yeah,
Yeah, who
that-
did that?
But there were, I've heard.
Yeah,
there were
there
What
was-
is
multiple-
it? But is it? Is it? I mean, is it
but
vile?
No, but multiple comedians would make fun of the situation
Yeah.
or whatever. But this was many years
Yeah,
after.
many years ago.
Right?
So
So,
nobody would touch-
too soon,
Yeah.
right? Like that's the question of.
Yeah, nobody would touch that anymore. But I think
Well, I don't know.
See, again, for me, I don't consider that off limits. So for you it is, but for me personally, I don't care. It's not something that's happening now. It's something that happened years ago. And they're finding a joke. It's not necessarily making fun of the fact that this girl was raped and killed or whatever. It's about something to do with the families, like an angle that
So I'm listening to you. I'm thinking, can we make a distinction between what we may personally find offensive and where we believe the boundaries, if any, should be drawn as it pertains to comedy? Because there's a brand of comedy that any one of us may choose not to consume because we simply just don't enjoy it, don't find it funny or entertaining or any of those things.
like Monty Python for me.
Right? Versus where, whether we enjoy it or not, these are where the boundaries should be set because these are topics or
I don't agree that there's any
issues
boundaries.
that comedians should not be addressing.
I don't agree that there's any boundaries. Why should there be any
Well,
boundaries?
but earlier you said other than those that have been established for free speech.
Well, that's the law. So for me, I'm a law-abiding. I believe in the rule of law. So as someone who believes in the rule of law, you're not going to be a comedian that's going to be in a huge theater and say fire, fire, and so
Well,
on.
no, but there's a distinction where comedy is concerned.
What's that?
Context.
And your point is?
My point is that a comedian may be saying things that could be interpreted a certain way, but that is not their intent.
So in order to incite violence, for example, potentially.
They may touch on the topic of violence in a
Yes.
way that someone interprets as inciting violence, but was not intended to be that. Well, but it matters.
I know.
Matters.
Okay, so in the Venn diagram of comedy to things that might incite violence, there might be some slight crossover, but I would argue that that's, I mean, now you're talking about the interpretation of what someone said, and someone may interpret it this way. My question would be: would a judge and a courtroom interpret it that way?
Don't know.
Well, if that's the case, if the courtroom interprets this as a breach or a violation, of something that's not covered under the First Amendment, and that it did incite violence,
Look, I'm
then he can.
going to use a made-up example
Okay.
of a white comedian in the deep south of the United States who goes on stage and starts making comments that are completely inappropriate in most people's views as it pertains to people of color.
Okay, so
And
fully
it's all
racist.
it's all part of a comedy act.
Yes.
And members of the audience that are of like skin color and tone are laughing hysterically.
Well, then
at
they're
this
all
comedian.
racist.
Well, so
Okay.
I'm getting to that.
not necessarily.
Right?
Yeah.
And somebody takes offense and it goes to court and it goes through the court system where a judge is like-minded and says,
No, it
there's
can't
nothing
be.
inappropriate. It's free speech.
It's free speech. Exactly. I agree with that. It is free speech. Now, the audience, whoever is in the audience, they could be a despicable audience, but that's not up to me to judge. That's up to, that's up to them to figure out if they want to be part of that type of comedy. But if you want to go and listen to some racist guy rant against
So
people.
even the guidelines and rules governing free speech are somewhat open to interpretation.
Yes, I'll agree with that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
that's always been the case.
Yeah, but if they're going to be found guilty in a court of law, then they shouldn't have done it.
Not all court of laws are.
Okay, but let's assume that, let's give the court of law its due process, right? And say, okay, they'll come to the right conclusion.
I guess I question and I worry about that when comedy is used as a mask for these types of attitudes. Like really,
Yeah, but it's the audience, right? If there's an audience for that, then the so-called comedian will spew that hate, but it'll be for that audience only.
But that's part of our conversation today. It's saying, that audience may be despicable, but there's an audience for that material.
Yeah.
And as a society, we say, well, that makes it okay because there's an audience for it.
And people are paying to go see the show.
They may pay for other things that are inappropriate.
Yeah.
Some people may pay to go see a lynching.
Well,
Wow.
no, I'm sorry, but if it's illegal,
I understand. I'm saying I made the point earlier. There are some things that are open to interpretation in terms of whether or not they cross the line. I use lynching specifically because it does cross the line. It's obvious. Yet
And it's
all I'm
illegal.
saying is there may be an audience for it
No, it's because I've seen.
who's willing to pay.
You see, this is why Andrew Dice Clay. This is my criticism of him, because that's the impression that I had, that he was really misogynistic and he used comedy to advance his misogyny.
I think
it was
Andrew Dice Clay knew that there was an audience out there
Exactly.
But
for a certain type of comedy.
So it was just entertainment.
which nobody else was doing on the
Okay.
scale.
Exactly.
if you give him the benefit of the doubt, it was just pure
Oh, it's not a
entertainment.
question of benefit of the doubt. You, as I said, I mean, to be frank, I don't find that many comedians funny. Rare are the comedians that leave.
I would agree with
you
that.
talked earlier
I would agree
about
with that.
busting your gut, like
Yeah,
laughing
that's
so
rare.
hard. I've been at a few comedy shows where I cannot control my laughter. It hurts. I'm laughing so hard.
Oh no!
But generally speaking, I find myself sitting there listening to the comedian.
yeah, and it's amusing, and,
I
that's
may
it.
I may crack a smile every so often,
Yeah.
but
But that's-
I don't find it particularly funny.
I'm in the same.
well, I mean,
Andrew Dice Clay, you look at the freaking audience reaction, and some of them are like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he said that," or that's appalling, or that's disgusting, or that's whatever. And there are people, and look, I mean, can you imagine being a woman and sitting in the first row or two of an Andrew Dice Clay concert or show? He's coming for you.
Or a
And
couple.
or a couple. And they're willingly there. Hey, I got front row seats. Do you know what you signed up for?
The husband or the boyfriend did.
no one ever did nursery rhymes like he did before.
Nursery rhyme?
Nursery,
Oh, yeah.
the nursery rhymes.
That was a big part of his show.
Yeah.
Hickory dickory dock.
I see.
And if you, three blind mice.
Jack,
and a
Jack
few,
and Jill.
and a few choice imitations.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was very good at that too. Yeah, I think he got a bum rap.
And you know what? He got canceled somewhat. He got suspended because he's back.
yeah, he's back, but
He does-
a little late.
I don't know. He does acting now.
Yeah,
He does,
yeah, he does a few things.
So getting back to the topic
Boundaries.
of boundaries, again, I don't think there's any boundaries. There should not be any boundaries, and it's the audience that's going to decide whether they like it or not. And I think we kind of all agree. Like there's, you
Yeah.
said kids' names and whatever, which is specific,
Yeah,
which is
specific.
oddly specific.
Yeah, it
but
well, no, it's because I mean, being a father myself, because I don't just think about the kids. They have parents. They have relatives. they have parents.
how about that guy that was the singer, the Quebec singer that they got made fun of and
Yes.
they got to court?
Okay.
So is that part of the thing?
Yeah. No, that's
So that's free game.
free game.
Okay.
and I think the courts agreed.
Yeah.
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 So
Exactly.
look, so that's a good example of where a large number of people
Yeah.
were highly offended by this comedian.
Right.
Felt that he had crossed the line. It was completely inappropriate.
Yeah.
The family.
It went-
Yeah. Not even,
It went to the court,
Yeah.
And the courts.
and the courts ruled that
He could say whatever
he was
he wanted.
exercising his right to free speech.
Ward.
That's right, but did it
Ward.
go to the Supreme Court or the Court of Appeal? Because the lower courts ruled against him, and he kept on appealing, and then the higher
Oh, yeah,
courts,
yeah.
the higher courts
Higher-
ruled in his favor. Yeah.
Well, I mean, this kid, Jeremy, I mean, his
Jeremy,
parents.
that's it.
Yeah, his parents wanted him to be a star. I mean, he didn't have the talent to do it, but I don't know, for some reason, they people put him on TV. This guy was horrible. That's all he said. He's horrible. Yeah, he's got some.
But he also he went on and made a lot of he made fun of his appearance. He made fun.
Yeah, but you know what? Your parents
Put you on
decided-
television.
Yeah, to put you there, to make you vulnerable to that.
No, to make you a celebrity.
Yeah, exactly. So you know what?
They look at the upside.
You're gonna look at the bad and the good side. But like we always often say here, people always look on one side, never the other side.
But I also think there's this notion that we live in a kind, gentle world. It's like nothing can be further from the truth.
Yeah.
Well, the reason I like that topic came to mind because he is someone's child.
Yeah, but
Well, everyone is someone's child.
I know.
Yeah, but
I'm
those parents made
Yeah, but that's like Dominic's point.
so that's that, back to personal judgment.
Of course. I mean, the kid has no talent.
Wait a
Oh,
second.
now you're going after him.
But he doesn't.
As long as it keeps it to the talent, that's a good conversation we could have.
Jurisprudence
But
is on his side.
But some people may find that offensive.
No, they found
but
they
Someone
saw,
always
Too bad.
finds something offensive.
they saw an opportunity to make money with their kid.
I didn't realize it was the
Yeah.
parents that put him up, to put
Yeah,
to put
of
him out
course.
there.
Yes, not for somebody else to make money on the back of their kid.
Exactly, but I mean, they didn't work out. I mean, so the guy just stated the obvious.
Okay, so basically one for free speech.
Okay, so no boundaries, Noran? Absolutely
No,
none.
because even to the point of the despicable racist comic who's going to be saying crappy things, I don't want to shut that person down. I don't want to listen to it. So I will not be an audience to that type of comedy. But if there's an audience for it and despicable people want to listen to a despicable comic, it is what it is. You can't stop people's mouths from opening and words coming out. How are you going to police words? It doesn't work. First Amendment. What you believe,
But
you
there's
can
limits.
say.
You admit it. There's limits to the First Amendment. I mean,
Well,
hate
if it's
speech-
going to
hate
hurt
speech is
people,
illegal.
if people are going to die because of what you said, yeah, there's a limitation to the First Amendment in the U.S., which is fine.
But forget the U.S. and First Amendment. Just in
Well, we're using the term, so
but I think just broadly speaking, if we agree that any words or actions that incite aggression, violence, hatred towards others,
Yeah.
that's worthy of a demarcation line.
yeah.
Otherwise, go for it. You may find an audience.
agree with
you
that.
may not.
If you want to make fun of someone,
It's your right to do so.
and laugh at a trope even of a thing which obviously will be a racist thing to do. If you want to do that and you think that that's comedy that's worthy of coming out of your mouth and to an audience, great,
So
go for it.
jokes about lynchings would be acceptable,
Yeah, any joke is acceptable.
Pat? I don't know. I don't have
So,
the answer.
again, context. Who's making the joke?
What's the joke
can have-
about?
Go back-
You can have a black person make a joke about lynching.
So you have,
And I'm sure there have been many examples of that.
like your earlier example, the white comedian in the Deep South, and a big part of their humor.
I am not supportive, but I'm not a big believer in over-regulating
yeah.
society.
Yeah.
And so I think that sometimes we put into law things to try and make society appear more civil and disciplined and kinder and gentler than it actually is.
how do you hold that-
I don't kid myself in terms of what human
Right.
nature
So
really
how do you
is.
hold the demarcation line that you just spoke about? How do you hold that line?
Well, you hope that those type of comedians
You have to
don't
allow...
don't get an audience.
Well, no, I'm saying if you cross the line. So then you have to rely on a system, a legal system, that hopefully is staffed with individuals, who are able to interpret the law in the way it was intended to be interpreted, and who apply it in a very consistent and rigorous manner. That's all you can do.
Guys, we just witnessed a political rally where a comic just called the island of Puerto Rico floating garbage.
Mm-hmm.
That could be considered very hateful. Was he canceled?
He didn't incite violence.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
He made comments that are.
Pat, I'm just saying,
I don't
what he
agree-
said was a despicable thing to say.
Insults and
That I
incitement
agree
are two
with.
different
It
things.
was highly offensive.
At a political rally,
And-
which
and
is
it doesn't
completely the
matter-
wrong place
No,
to
not
do
at that
it.
political rally. I'm sorry.
Right.
It's all, those rallies are all about saying offensive things and nasty things and despicable things.
Insult makes the cut, Noran. Incitement. That's where the problem is.
Yeah, but you could argue that that's
Wait
inciting
a second.
violence against
a presidential
against Puerto Ricans.
So a presidential candidate can say Mexicans are rapists.
Yes.
But the comedian at the rally is not allowed to say that this is.
So that's my point completely, is that it's very, very difficult to find words that you can that you could now say actually incite violence. Basically, crossing the line is very difficult, is what I'm trying to say, because we've seen what we thought were pretty blatant, bad things to say, which haven't even come close to the line. To your point, right? These things were said. A presidential candidate said
Again,
these things.
I understand.
So how do you cross the line? Like, how bad do you have to cross that line?
That's the
how
question.
bad you have to incite people through your words and actions. You have to incite people to commit heinous, violent, aggressive.
Mexicans are all rapists and murderers.
is a completely inappropriate statement.
So imagine-
highly offensive.
Exactly.
But it's a big difference from if you see a Mexican person crossing the border or walking in your neighborhood,
Shoot
get
them.
your gun and shoot them.
I think Trump has already said that, by the way.
Well,
I think he said something very similar to that.
Come on.
Well, if he did and nothing was done about it, then society has a major
did.
problem.
we do.
He didn't.
I'm going to try and look it up because I think he did
listen,
say something.
I'm using that as an example to illustrate the difference
Well-
between something that could be perceived as inappropriate and offensive.
What I'm trying to say, Pat, is that line is because of the First Amendment style of thinking, where people have the right to say what they think. That line is way out there, and I don't think there are many comics who come even close to that line. That's why I think there are no boundaries, and I think that like most of anything that's said by any comic is within bounds because there's so little.
I don't disagree with that. I don't disagree with that. I think a lot of comics cross the line as far as being offensive, inappropriate,
definitely.
inconsiderate,
Definitely.
hurtful,
Definitely.
all of those things.
Yeah, but
But
not
I have not personally witnessed comedians who incite violence.
exactly.
Don't forget.
But if
So it
they-
all goes.
But if they did, no.
No.
But if they did,
Yeah,
then the society should go after them.
exactly. But none of them have.
Not
Yet
to our
society
knowledge.
is still has gone after a bunch of them and canceled them
tried to.
or tried to. Yeah.
There's no incentive for a comedian for that kind of comedy. Yeah, he has to earn a living. So
Absolutely.
he doesn't want to be.
But
doesn't want to get
there's an
canceled.
audience for it.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it's a small freaking
It's a
audience.
small, yeah, that's it.
I don't
So-
think it's so small. I just think that the promoters who put on these comedy shows have become ultra sensitive. Look, there used to be a huge comedy festival, one of the largest in the world, held in Montreal every year, just for laughs. And it no longer is.
No.
Right?
Yeah, but
why?
but not why. But
Well, no,
poor management,
for a number of reasons.
mismanagement,
But I'll tell you, is it a coincidence that a few years ago they started renaming the headlines for some of their shows because a small percentage of the audience found them to be inappropriate or
I don't think that did them in.
Yeah, I agree.
it was the beginning of a process.
I mean, the total was it was poorly managed,
Yeah.
One can argue it was always poorly managed.
Yeah, that's it.
and the finances were very very iffy. and the
They
rest
had
of it.
they had been for years.
Okay.
Look, I've gone every year, and I noticed the last 5-6 years how these comedians weren't funny anymore.
Why? Because they were. Why? Because people were telling them at the festival. You know,
Well,
there was
Some of them were
imposing conditions?
some of them were being
We were imposing-
censored.
Yeah.
Were we?
Some of them were. They were even renamed. There was a show I think for years. It was called the Nasty Show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Show, yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
And
that's what I remember.
they changed the name.
Yeah, but they didn't change. Okay, and
Yes,
then you're
and-
saying,
and
and
they
then the comedian
started-
as well. They impose conditions on
They
the comedian.
started to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so some
well,
comed-
that's
and
why-
some
no, I don't
comedian-
agree with that.
And some comedians who had built their reputations on the nastiness of their
Yeah,
performance
exactly.
said, "I'm not signing up for this.
Okay, I wasn't
I'm
aware
not.
of that.
I'm bailing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want any part of it."
If that's what happened, then that's I disagree with that.
Well,
for
And
sure.
then you had the other extreme. I remember going to a show several years ago, and the individual who was emceeing, who's a TV celebrity,
I know which one.
started talking about circumcision as an issue, and how the world needs to put a stop to male circumcision. And it's like I came to a comedy show.
Yeah.
This was not part of the comedy, by the way.
This was his
The
opinion.
intro.
His opinion.
His opinion. He was just making a point. Since I have a stage and
He
I
had
have an
skin in the
audience,
game.
Oh, Nurhan, improv night, baby.
Evidently, he didn't.
No, he should have had skin in the game.
This was the comedian himself or herself or the MC.
He's a TV
Right, but he was the MC. He was
personality
saying those things as
who
the
was
MC.
As the MC.
What's
his
but
name?
not as part of a comedy routine.
Right. Okay. So inappropriate. Yeah.
It's more like
where'd
I have
that
a
come from?
platform. It's something that.
Yeah, but then
I guess
again, then you can use the argument. It could be right back at you. Well, he's a comedian too, right?
No, but if it had been done as part of a comedy stint,
Yeah.
then I would have
okay.
I wouldn't have found it funny, but I would have reacted differently than having this guy lecturing the audience during a
But
comedy
was it
show.
a lecture or was it parody? Was it
No, it was a
sarcasm?
lecture. It was
You know-
nothing sarcastic about it.
You know, when they have galas, there's a host.
That's what it
Yeah,
was.
yeah,
it
but
was
I know,
one of those
yeah, but I
galas.
mean, if the guy is like he's a comedian,
No, it wasn't part of a comedy show.
He sets the tone for the evenings. That's what I'm talking about.
No,
Okay.
no.
Maybe he was a failed comic. He tried to make circumcision.
Anyway, you know what? You can hear a pin drop.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Well,
He
A
turned out
pin drop. Everybody felt so uncomfortable.
is this person still around? Are they still a
Is
celebrity?
did you have the tape?
They're not
Is it uncut?
A level, but
Okay.
he turned out to be a dick.
No one liked my
Partly,
uncut
partly.
joke. Nobody liked it.
No,
it was okay.
yeah.
It was okay, Narayan.
Come on, uncut. Come on.
We don't want you to think of yourself as a comedian.
That's another subject. You know, some celebrities take advantage of the stage they have to promote. Or to
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I have a platform and a
Well,
cause.
yeah.
Exactly.
You decide in the U.S. election.
That's
Exactly.
the next Romeo topic. Cut or uncut? Yeah, definitely.
So
Show of hands.
Well,
Show of what?
just don't get up, okay? Just stay seated, please.
God put it there. There's a reason.
Okay. So look,
Wait, somebody's going to question.
So-
Who says I believe in God?
Exactly.
so good. You know, we're not the censoring type here at this table. All right.
No, we don't believe in censorship.
So
No.
everything goes.
Yeah.
Virtually.
Pretty much.
Virtually.
Not
I agree.
anything. Not anything.
Not violence, you know, against a group or.
No.
but everything-
Any- no
that's not
incitement.
gonna-
No
anything
incitement
that-
of hatred.
Anything that's not going to break the law.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Incitement.
We're good for it.
It depends where. I mean, some laws are written differently in different regions of the world.
God.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
The only thing that matters, it's going to be funny. It's going to make you laugh.
But again, so subjective.
Yeah, I know.
No, it's got to make me laugh.
Yeah, exactly.
That's easy.
That's true. I laugh.
You make yourself
I
laugh.
laugh at my own jokes. I know.
It's a family trait.
It's a family trait.
It
That's right.
is.
We're jolly.
Yes.
We're just
That's one of the words I have heard used to describe you guys.
you guys.
You guys. You guys. Well, you're not alone.
I'm they them.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
That's another episode.
Do you want to come out or anything?
I'm coming out. I want the world to know.
Look, guys, comedy is society needs comedy. Mankind,
We need to laugh
We
at
need
each
to
other.
laugh.
Humankind.
yeah, humankind.
Humankind.
Humankind needs comedy. It comes with a big responsibility. So
No,
I
it
think-
doesn't.
I think what you're saying is I think that we are
There's
saying
no responsibility.
well, I mean when you have an audience. Anytime you have an audience in life, you have responsibility. Is what I'm trying to say.
You do. I don't think so.
Well, you don't have an audience.
He does. There's at least 8 people watching him right now.
So look, it's an important role. It's an appreciated role, and I think what we're saying is that luckily for all of us, it never reaches that point, that dark side. It always stays on the legitimate side where we can laugh. We can.
Have you ever heard of Anthony Jeselnik?
Yeah, yeah.
Who's
He's,
Anthony Jeselnik.
yeah. He's
Freaking dark.
He's very
So
dark.
comedy. What I think what we're saying is that comedy is doing a good job in our society.
Yes.
But we have to be, as the world becomes more extreme, we have to be careful that certain minimal standards are put in place.
Where?
Why? What standards? Are
The
standards changing?
demarcation line, the incitement. Never allow it to go in this,
Yeah,
in this very charged.
that's covered by free speech.
Right, in this very charged environment, we don't want comedy, to become a tool of incitement. That's what we're saying.
I think the other side of the argument, Aki, and I'm not speaking for anyone other than myself, is we don't want a marginal group of our society to have this ability to cancel individuals
Totally.
and to ruin their careers and lives just because they find material offensive or inappropriate.
Agreed.
especially 20 years later.
Any period of time.
Like, what's his name there? Kevin.
Kevin Hart.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
Before he was going to do the Academy Awards,
The Academy
right?
Awards, yeah.
Yeah, and he got canceled
one
for
of those
something
shows, yeah.
that he wrote like 20 years ago. Or
Exactly.
What was his defense? Did he ever explain that?
whatever. He didn't. He never.
You don't have
Because
to.
he had enough balls to say, you know what? I'm not going to explain myself.
Exactly.
Fuck you. I'm not going to do it.
That's it.
And,
Okay. No,
and
I
he was
understand.
right.
I
On a
agree with
moral
him.
principle level, I understand that. On a business principle, maybe that wasn't the best strategy.
He's got more money than God.
All right.
He doesn't need more money.
Exactly.
I think he's a billionaire by now.
Yeah.
Okay.
His stack of money is taller than him.
Yeah, and speaking of Academy Awards, we had an example with
Your
Chris,
dick is taller
with
than
Chris
him.
Rock
Yeah.
of when you say something that could be perceived as offensive, there may be repercussions.
I still think he should have punched him out after he got slapped.
Yeah, you're assuming he could.
Yeah.
He was shocked. I mean, who saw that?
And
coming?
whether he was shocked or not,
Yeah, one guy's a little bit bigger than the other.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I still would have.
Yeah, but he came out of it. Look at the, smart. He came out of it stronger than ever.
Yeah, he
Will
did.
Smith completely disgraced, and Chris Rock, his career just skyrocketed.
But
but you didn't need that event to make
No,
a
I know,
distinction
I know,
between
but
the two.
but it was a good. Look, I can appreciate that. I thought he handled it very well, and I'm glad that he
I
came
think
out
Chris
of it.
Rock has always handled himself well.
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Smart guy.
I think the other guy is an opportunistic fake.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but just going.
Who's built a career, a very financially successful career out of being a complete phony.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Rock is one of those guys who knows how to walk the line. It's
Very much so.
Yeah, very good.
But going back to Kevin Hart, I mean, I understand. We understand the way he reacted, and we applaud him for that. But it would have been good for society that he spoke up and he pushed back.
He did.
No,
He
but
did
you
push
said no,
back.
but he didn't. I understood.
He
that.
didn't respond to it. He didn't say, "Oh,
He didn't
I'm sorry."
apologize.
He
No,
didn't
but
He
apologize
did.
again.
He did take a public stand. He did make a statement about it,
Yeah,
not
he
about
said
the incident.
He turned down a high-profile gig.
He
Right.
said, "Fuck you, fuck you,"
okay.
to all y'all's
Right?
faces.
Okay, is that all he said?
As a song
okay,
says,
I'm
yes.
just saying, like, to have said a little bit more about, this is
No.
completely out of bounds.
He didn't explain
this
himself. He
bullshit,
said
it's out of bounds.
He didn't feel he needed to.
Like-
Exactly.
Okay, because a person of his standing to make a statement like that helps us in these debates.
Yeah, it does.
Helps us how?
Well,
Again-
it pushes back.
Pushes back
it
against
doesn't-
the
it
cancel
doesn't- yeah,
culture.
No, but
the
it leaves,
censoring
it
folks
leaves, I
don't have the
disagree.
last word.
I think it leaves a lot of people feeling dissatisfied because, the people who wanted him canceled, in some regard, got what they wanted because he didn't get the gig. Right? They didn't want him hosting for
Well, that's the
whatever reasons
Academy
they had.
Awards decision.
And they wanted to bring to light an issue which never got fully explained. And he, on the other hand, said, I've got no explaining to do to anyone. I have no apologies to give to anyone. And if those are the conditions, I'm walking away.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think everybody loses, nobody wins.
yeah. He basically said, "I don't need you guys," and he's right.
Well, financially, he doesn't.
Yeah. And the audience missed out on a potential good host for that evening.
Yeah, yeah,
And it is what it is.
yeah. And I would have liked him to say something a little bit stronger in his defense.
He's not
He didn't
going
have to defend
Okay, he didn't have to. It's just again
Because
put it on the public record.
it's
So
a no.
when you do that,
You're expecting too much of people.
oh right.
But it would be a no-win.
Well, no, but what
It's a
is
no-win
he in it
situation.
for?
I agree with
What
you.
is he in it for?
Yeah.
He's a public figure. He's a
It's a
public
no-win.
figure. He's a public figure, and he's just been assaulted in some capacity, or
He's an entertainer. He's an entertainer with a massive audience.
right.
Who doesn't
Right?
give a shit?
Who's richer than you can imagine.
Okay, but it's not just about.
And it is for him. Why do you think everyone is in it for the greater good? He's in it for purely financial reasons.
And he said
I'm
that multiple
not-
times.
Yeah, I just think
He wants the fancy cars, the trophy wife
we
or
want. We
girlfriend,
agree.
the lifestyle.
We agree. Look, we objected. We objected to censorship, and we object to these people that are hypersensitive all the time and closing
Yes.
down everybody and everything. We
So-
right.
I think he did a good job.
Right. So I'm just saying is, every chance we have, we should be pushing back against these crazies.
Well, he did in
That's
his
all
way.
that I'm saying.
And you know what? He got to MC the Tom Brady roast.
Oh, that was amazing.
Okay.
Well, you see, so you find it amazing. Honestly,
It was bad. I don't know.
watch these roasts, and there's maybe one bit that I find amusing. Everything else I find like,
Lame.
is that the best you can do?
No, that lady, I forget her name.
Yes, she
Unbelievable.
was hysterical.
Yeah, she's
What was
good.
her name?
Who else was funny?
The one with
There was
the,
one other. It was her and one other that were funny.
Who?
I forget the other one. I'll have to
What's
look it
her
back
name?
up. But her,
Yeah, she's Jewish.
oh my God, she was so good.
Yeah.
It wasn't Eliza.
Blonde,
It was,
No, it wasn't.
She's a known comedian.
yes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Anyway, the point is,
She was amazing. Amazing.
I watched the roast.
yeah.
That's a perfect example
was
of
one other guy.
everybody trying to get a laugh by dropping F-bombs and using
Right.
language. And
Right.
It's like,
And
it's not funny. It's not funny.
is it fair to say?
She crossed the line
Yeah.
in terms of inappropriateness, but was hysterically funny in doing so.
She always does.
Yeah, exactly.
Dean Martin roasts. That was the way to do roasts.
Oh my God.
You couldn't
That
do
was
that.
the way to do roasts.
You sound like a retired old man.
Drunken has been.
Newsflash, Naran. Newsflash.
You're just retired. You're not old.
No, but I really recommend that to our younger viewers.
Because that line
Dean
was-
Martin roast. That's the way to do roasts.
Most of these comedy roasts, frankly, again, I find a couple of
I think they're
bits at
still
most
funny. I think they're still witty.
and the rest of it is just Really? That's the
Even
best you
even
can
back
do?
then. Back then, you same thing.
No, I'm talking about the
Back then they were
Comedy,
racist as
Comedy
hell.
Central roasts. You ever seen those?
No.
Okay.
The roast master, Jeff.
Okay, so and
Jeff Ross.
you're critical. You don't think they're funny? They're not well
I
done.
don't. I don't find it funny when people are using foul language and people are laughing because they use that language. It's like
Okay,
it's not funny.
I
like
tend
tell
to
me
agree.
something funny.
Right, that's why I give the example
not
of the
the
Dean
foul
Martin
language
roast because
that's
that was
funny.
good comedy.
No, exactly. I like it.
Sometimes foul language used in the right context
We agree.
is hysterical.
Right. And then,
But if that's
It was
the
a
only
funny
reason
show.
you're getting a laugh,
I agree. But the Dean Martin roast, again, are example of roasts that were well done. They were very entertaining, very, very funny. With
They
a
were
lot of
super
talent.
racist
So
back
I
then.
know. Anyway.
With Sammy Davis Jr. and the stuff that they were
Watch
saying.
them. I really recommend that we watch
very
them because
racist.
those were really good roasts.
but,
No,
but what a
they weren't
target.
super racist.
At the same time, being black and Jewish, I mean, come on.
Listen to Don Rickles on some of the things he would
I will.
say.
Don,
on those.
Don
But it was
Rickles
done.
wouldn't make it today.
To his point,
Exactly.
my argument would be to his point. The context, the context, and the timing, it worked.
All in the Family wouldn't make it today.
I know. Nothing would make it.
That show was hysterical.
Yeah,
That's true.
no, I wouldn't.
Oh, okay.
Okay. So, bottom line, we don't believe in boundaries
No.
other
no
than those
censorship.
established for free speech.
No censorship.
No incitement by anybody in society, regardless.
Let comedians do their job.
Exactly.
Exactly.
If you don't appreciate them, like them, find them funny, then don't consume their content. Don't attend their shows. Don't watch them on TV or on their podcasts or anything else.
Watch our podcast because we're fucking funny.
Well, Nuran is. Nuran is. And if you
we're
don't
not
believe
doing
me,
a-
ask him.
And we're not doing any roasts.
Well,
No?
that's-
No pot roast?
Aki roast.
Okay. Any other thoughts?
Laugh, guys.
exactly.
You don't have to lie, but we'll take a like or two or three. We'll take a subscription at this point. We'll wish you a great week, and we look forward to seeing you next time.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. Take care, Romeos.